Hello. Hi, Miss Amy.
Hello. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for conducting this meeting.
Well, I'm really excited because, there's so many great things that's happening and roles are changing, and to be able to be the educator and try to, make it so that way we can slowly help everybody understand a little bit. I'm excited. So, this is definitely not going to be the same as how Rochelle has done other webinars, I'm sure. So, but we're excited to get back into it. So
we're excited for change.
Yes,
we're in changing times, aren't we?
We are.
Yeah, Rochelle can't be the only one that does all the things. So, all right, we'll give it a couple minutes here and get started. And hopefully you all have your numbers for your full-time, your part-time, how many hours your center is open for the week, what is your average hours for your part-timers. And we'll go and do some actual real examples as well. All right, hopefully everybody can see this too. Okay. So thank you all. I want to go ahead and introduce myself. For some of you, you may not know who I am or may not have had the privilege yet, I guess, to meet me. So I am Amy Brophy. I have been with Honest Buck for a year now, a little over a year. And my role has been to kind of really help get everyone understanding their numbers. You all are educators on the regular, so we are trying to make it so we can help streamline it and make it so we can really help everybody understand their KPI so that way they can be successful. Some of y'all are clients already. Thank you for joining us. And for those that aren't yet, we are excited to see what possibilities we can do to help you out. For the rest of you, you should know Rochelle. She has been with the company for obviously all of its life. And she's here to help me navigate the things that I don't know, that she has been doing for years and comes as second nature. So she's my backup support on this full-time equivalent webinar. So anything you wanted to share, Rochelle, at all?
No, I'm just excited to kind of jump into this and see what questions come up. That's always the part that I like the most, is when we have a more interactive audience who has questions to ask. That's always a lot more fun than throwing out a bunch of numbers and kind of just getting stared at afterwards. So.
Yes, exactly. So what we'll do is we will go through and give very simplistic ways of how you can do it. You can use this from your own area that you're at right now to try to calculate it. We kept it really simple. And then obviously everybody's situation is different. And be aware of that, keep that in mind. Not everybody operates the same, and that's okay. But understanding it is half the battle and will be crucial, especially as you go through applying for grants and all the other pertinent items in running your business. So the first thing we want to talk about is why it's you say potato and I say tomato. And it's because it is apples and oranges. Some people, as the center owners, we have a license capacity, but that's different than the actual enrollment, and they are not necessarily the same. We want to get it so that way we understand and identify the differences. So the biggest thing is, how many full-time children you have, and what exactly does that full-time schedule look like for you. Every center is different. typically, most of them average about 40 hours a week. That's a traditional work week. Others might have more, and you want to consider that in your calculations as well. And also, what is your part-time schedule look like? Is it based on hours per week? Do you consider half a day, like one day that's like 3 hours as a part-time, or is it the total? So this is where you have the ability to really manipulate it in a way that it'll benefit you the best. And so understanding what that looks like, we're going to go ahead and start with that. So with your hours, in a lot of ways, centers consider 8 hours as a full-time enrollment. Some do less than that. And so one of the things that in keeping that in mind is that your numbers as far as where your part-time comes in, it may be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, is anything that's usually under 20 hours for the week. Obviously, that would be a part-time status. And then how many you have in that and what their average hours are. So you could have, 6 that are 6, we're just going to use 6 as a number, that are ranging anywhere from 8 to 19 hours a week. Obviously, you figure that out with the average, and we have just a little over 14.3 as the average hours. So, excuse me. So knowing that and knowing your hours, as far as what that average is, obviously it changes. If you have different classrooms, you have different days. So what we will do is we're going to actually go through, and I pulled some numbers from a scoping call that I did for when I asked the question with how many do you have that are enrolled, what is your license capacity? And I do see that there's some stumbling blocks on what that is. And usually I get that, well, I have some that are here and some that are here. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in. So let me get my little pad here, make sure that this is going to work the way I want it to. Click. All right. Thanks for your patience. All right, so we're going to say that we have, not that, we are going to have 26 enrolled students part-time. And their average is the 14.3. Apologies, this is my first time doing this little guy. Go ahead.
So on how you got to 14.3, you took the total number of hours they were in there per week and divided by 26 to get to what that average looks like. Okay, perfect.
Correct, thank you. So we have the 26 times the 14.3, and that comes to 371. Come on. Oh my gosh, this thing is going to be a pain in my butt. I'm going to use the mouse. There we go. 371.8. All right. And say we have 40 hours for that week. We now have the equivalent of 9. Oh man, yep, this isn't going to work well. Ha! Sorry. 9.29 is your full-time equivalent on your part-timers. So we have 26 children that in that range, they are averaging 14.3 hours each week for a total of 371.8 hours that we are dividing by 40. As the total number of hours that the facility is open. If that's more, obviously we change that number. So now we have these 26 children that are equivalent to 9.29 full-time enrollment. So we're going to add this number over here. Obviously we can't have a 0.29 of a child. And we have also 57 full-time. And so this would be 66 full-time equivalent children. My math is mathing? Please, okay.
I believe so.
All right. So now we have 66 full-time equivalent, but say our license capacity is 87. So now we're going to take our 66 full-time equivalent children, divide that by the 87 license capacity, and then we're going to take that times 100. So that way we don't have the decimal. And so now we have 75.86%. Whoops, as the percentage. The closer this number is to 90, you know, obviously that would be our goal. The closer this number is to 90, the more profitable you will be at. I know that everybody changes how they, you know, want to do this, because part-time does seem to be the preferred for most families, may not be the easiest for most families to make work. Not everybody can do full-time. But this here is just an example of one of our clients. And this one has obviously some room for improvement, but we can also change that by either increasing our full-time, or maybe we change which days we offer part-time, to change what is considered part-time. So for example, if you feel that 3 hours is sufficient for a part-time status, you'll have to have some sort of what happens if it's only 3.1. Is it 3.1 that now becomes a full-time? And so these are just some things to consider as you are going through to play with your numbers to see where you have room to move. It is a very simple math to go through and try to figure this out. And I really wanted to make sure that you could see the ease of figuring this out. It's not as difficult as it looks. I know it can come across very overwhelming, but you can really take it down to basics. So if you have, I guess at this point, if any of you have some numbers that you are interested in seeing, or you can't math the math, we are happy to help you get this through and calculated. I want to be able to put out there for question and answers, and/or Rochelle, if you have anything you want to jump in on with this.
Well, I think one thing I'm interested in is just where kind of everyone is coming from on this. Is there anybody who's on the call who does not do any sort of part-time? Oh, Donna, I can't hear you.
Okay, our centers don't have a lot of part-time. I guess we don't have a lot of drop-in care, but I do try to compute the full-time equivalency, because we have I'm in Georgia, we have the Georgia Pre-K program that is conducted 6.5 hours a day. And then beyond that day, because we're open 12 hours a day, we're open from 6 to 6. Beyond that day, we house school agers at 3.5 hours a day. So I was doing some math with both of those groups being part-time. Would you consider them part-time because they share the same space?
Honestly, I generally would only, well, this is where it gets a little bit confusing, and kind of why I'm asking the question, because we had another client when we sent out this invite, they were like, we have a lot of people in our area who are saying they're not doing part-time anymore. It's all full day. But obviously, if you can charge more for like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday than you can for those 5 days, why would somebody do that? Like, why would they only want to do full
Right.
time?
Mhm.
And the answer that I can come to based on conversations I've had with clients is, one, a little bit less stress on your staff by not having these changeovers throughout the day, as well as, knowing at the beginning of the day how many kids you're going to have and being able to adjust staff appropriately versus waiting for those part-timers to come in possibly midday. And then, the other is just not being able to find the kids to kind of Tetris it in. Because like, yeah, you can charge more for a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but if you can't find a Tuesday, Thursday, then, you're not going to make more money. You're going to be making less money. And so if you say like it's a standard 5 days a week, like then that kind of takes care of that problem. So it really depends on, again, like Amy said, circumstances. But I would, when you're saying, are they half day or full day? I think on the ones that are 6.5, I mean, I would assume that they're there from like 9 to 4 or something close to that, which that really would, to me, that wouldn't be a part-time because you can't.
8:30 to 2:30. 8:30 to 2:30, which does leave way, for my school leaders in the afternoon.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think it leaves way for the school agers. So if that's kind of how you think about a part-time is, well, I can do this, but if I have this program, then they can leave, and that allows me to have that time to bring in the school agers, whereas I wouldn't be able to if those students weren't leaving. Then yeah, I could see that as a part-time. But if it's nothing other than it's just a short day, then I would probably count that as more of a full-time student. Does that kind of make sense?
Yes, it does. Now, I don't know if this is where I can ask this question, or if maybe at the end of the meeting today I could, but I am in a different situation. I do have 3 centers. My husband and I are looking to sell our centers.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to put on paper a 70%, 80%, and 90% full-time equivalency, as far as a 3-year forecast.
Mhm.
Can you tell me how I can derive at those numbers? Is there an equation for that?
So the way that I would set it up, and this might be something we maybe move on to an email or something, because
Sure.
this is obviously, I don't want to get too accountancy, but what I would probably do is I would try to calculate if you were at a perfect 100%,
Okay.
right?
Uh-huh.
And by that I mean you have your pre-K kids in there for 6.5 hours, and then for every pre-K kid that goes out, you have an after-school kid.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect world, what would your revenue look like? And then that's where I would just multiply it by 70, 80, or 90%. It's very simplistic, but
Okay.
honestly, when it comes to forecast, simplicity makes all the difference. You don't want to try to get overly complicated and have like a miscalculation just because we tried to get too fancy, but also remember that you have to explain what you're doing to whoever you're giving that forecast to.
Right.
And so the simpler you can be on these things, the better. I've seen on these forecasts, I've seen people try to get crazy and trying to calculate out vacation expense. And I'm like, dude, just assume 2 weeks per year per employee. Like, it's fine. You don't need to get crazy about it.
Yeah. That's right, because people who know childcare understand that it's kind of a ceiling, as far as numbers, and you only go so far.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Who are you currently trying to, like, or do you have a company you're already trying to sell through?
I do not have a company we're trying to sell through, and for that reason, I would be interested in what your company, what you actually do and what y'all represent, kind of thing. And we can certainly talk later about that.
Yeah, I was going to say, they're very big in the industry, but I would really recommend talking to Hinge. HINGE. I would recommend talking to them, at least having them take a look at your financials. That's all they do is childcare business transactions. That's all they do.
All over the
Very,
United
very.
States? Are they all over the United States?
So they're actually based in I think North Carolina or South Carolina, so
Okay.
not too far from you, but they do transactions all over the country.
Okay. Yeah.
But they are, like I said, they're very well known in the industry. They do a lot of really good things. And so they would be a really great resource to start from. You hopefully getting you more top dollar than a local who is not familiar with childcare at all.
Right. Thank you for that.
Can you put the link to the website in the chat,
I sure
Rochelle?
can.
I just started looking up Hinge and I've got all the dating sites. So I'm pretty sure that's not the same. Not the same.
Not that Hinge.
No.
I sure can.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, so I'm gonna put that. I don't know if I'm replying, but let me know if nobody saw that, because
HingeAdvisors.com.
Okay. Yep.
Perfect.
All right, and it looks like we got some other questions going on. So anything over 2 days? Okay, perfect. And like she said, everyone does it a little bit differently. So our center has full-time days, and they can choose the amount per week to enroll for 1 to 6 days a week, and full-time covers 10 hours a day. Nice. Okay, that works too. I just opened my third center and I'm too busy doing the numbers. Yeah, so and that's actually, it's really interesting, because when we look at KPIs for childcare centers, which, I have a whole list of KPIs that childcare centers should be looking at. The number one is definitely FTE, and to your point, like with the Childcare Success Academy, they'll tell you the same thing, FTE. When I get on calls with clients, 90% of the time when I say, what's your FTE right now? It's, I have no idea. I can tell you how many kids I have. I can tell you how understaffed I am. I can tell you all these other things, but I can't really give FTE. And so that is one thing I would say, like, I fully understand, like, being super busy and not being able to do that. But having, if it's possible, having an admin or a director do a scorecard for you on a weekly or a monthly basis, where you look like it puts in the FTE information for you. It puts in, how many tours you had. It puts in how many enrollments you had. It puts in, if it's necessary, new hires and people who left or quit. Just a scorecard to give you a really quick, just here's what's happening with my business right now. And, it doesn't have to be super crazy. It can just be 3 or 4 numbers, but those 3 or 4 numbers that tell you what your business is doing at any given time. And that's definitely something that if you have a director, you have an admin, they can help you with.
Is there anyone that considers part-time based off of the hours and not necessarily the days? Because I'm curious about that too. Because I see these numbers of like 10 is considered full-time hours, and I'm like, holy cow, that sounds like more than full-time. When you consider like somebody working part-time or working full-time, it tends to be based off of hours. So I was curious about that.
Yeah.
And absolutely, I was gonna say, and absolutely feel free to unmute yourself and talk. It's a lot easier to have a conversation. Go ahead, Donna.
I was just going to say that was the impression that I got when I said 10 hours a day, because we're open from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. just Monday through Friday. And it's very hard. We have to be creative with staffing, no doubt. But I feel like all of our competition in our whole area is pretty much, the same type of a day. I'm doing parents early time to get there. And then, but we do have a 10-hour maximum stay each
Okay.
day,
Mhm.
but we're open the 12 hours.
So one of the trends that I feel like I have seen more this year is less kids in after school care. And that's, again, keeping in mind we work with people, across the country, but that is something that we've heard a lot, is that, when we're looking at where people are trying to enroll, we seem to have more after school and preschool spots than we need, especially if we're not involved in the state-run preschool. And we have not enough toddler and infant. And obviously we know toddler and infant is expensive and we have to be really careful about how many we take and all of that. But it seems like from everything again, just based on what I've heard from clients, it seems like COVID got parents to a stricter schedule, so to speak, where they were able to figure out how to be done with work when the kids were done with school, and don't have quite as many kids in after school care. And then in addition to that, it seems like more after school care has opened up in these locations. So it seems like that's a little bit of a struggle. I'm kind of curious if you've seen that in your program, Donna.
We actually have a large number of school-age care. We do transport children to and from their schools. And now one of our sister, well, no, not sister locations, but one of our competitors down the street has stopped, after school care altogether. One reason being that insurance is crazy, with transportation and vehicles and things like that. It's very expensive. And they've gone to more early childhood, but I don't feel like I'm at a place where I could let that go right now, because they do offset a big part of the program, because we still can't find the help we need. We definitely need more employees. We have a waiting list for younger children. So our numbers are not where they were before COVID, even after this many years, So I'm going to rely on those school agers, at this point until we can get to a healthier place.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
For sure. I mean, as long as they're there, great, because they do make money, but that's just been what I've heard, is that this just seems like fewer and fewer enrollments are happening in that after school period.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And then there's a few more comments. And again, like I said, if you guys want to unmute and chat, I'm more than open to that. But it looks like somebody is moving to a full-time infant room, full-time only infant room. So yeah, I'd be interested to know how that goes. And then she also made a really good point that there is if you use ProCare, there is an FTE calculation in ProCare, assuming that everything is set up correctly. I have had in the past where I've tried to run that with clients going into their ProCare and run the FTE report, and they don't have the classroom set up appropriately, or they don't have everything set up appropriately, and it just doesn't calculate right. So that would be, if you are investing in ProCare, I would definitely make sure it's 100% set up, because it can give you some really, really great reporting, but only if it's set up correctly.
Yep. Okay. Who else? Other questions we have? Interesting. Let's see here. All right. Okay, well, I'm hoping that because I don't see any questions in tone here, that this was something that was at least easy to replicate for you and your directors, that these are simple maths that can be used to very quickly get the data you need. So that way, when you are asked, how many do you have, you're not going, I know what license capacity I have. So, yep, I would love to see that too, if anybody has their numbers and would like to have that broken out. But it is a really easy math, and it will, as you practice this, and like Rochelle said, having your directors give you this scorecard every week to see how you are doing weekly, that will also help with your own budgeting and forecasting, and even planning for your labor. As we were talking about after school care, it becomes a little harder with after school care because it's later in the day, and you want to, sending someone home after, way later in the day is going to be harder, or having to bring someone in if you don't have as many. So I do have a question as a follow-up from a webinar that you had done previously, Rochelle, where in talking about this full-time equivalent percentage and trying to get it close to 90 or higher as much as possible, where the example was that there was literally just room for 4 hours. And so it sounded like from the populace that they all over enroll. And so I'm curious as to, has this ever backfired, where we've, oh, we're just going to go big, go home, go big or go home. And then they're stuck either not having enough, where you have that one day where everybody's like, nope, I just need a break. And now you have a center that's over.
No, I mean, and again, keeping in mind that every state is different on what their requirements are. But typically, unlike airlines who oversell, you don't get your money back, or you don't get a $400 voucher. What they'll typically do if they were over enrolled, that is a lot of the reasons for having floaters in the center and scheduled. We couldn't do it as much during COVID. And again, it depends on the state law, but during COVID, there was not a lot of, they didn't allow mixture of rooms. And so, you had to keep every room completely separate. Now there's a little bit more of an ability to be able to like remix things and reallocate people if you are like just happen to be overbooked. And I've had a few clients where they're like 104% FTE, which is like awesome if you can get to that point. But again, that's some serious Tetris that I don't think I could do.
Yes, especially when you're trying to budget your employees and your staff to try to cover that. So thank you for that feedback on that. Any other questions that we have on this? I wanted to give you a little FYI. So this is actually part of the e-course that has been extended so many hours into. It's our Know Your Numbers e-course, and this is one of the little featurettes. And for those that have applied for, the employee retention credit, one of the questions is, did you have to reduce your ratios? And if you don't know what your ratio was versus what it is now, this is how you figure it out. This is how you're going to see, where you were supposed to be at, where you had been at, and what had to, how it did drop. So this is, like I said, part of our e-course. It's just a little snippet of the KPI, the key points indicator that we use for helping with budgeting and the like. So this is definitely available for you to be able to see in future. There will be a webinar post feedback, because I appreciate everybody coming and checking this out. So there will be a little coupon code for that you can try out the Know Your Numbers course and see how it can benefit you and your staff. So with that, I also wanted to kind of wrap it up here. I know we've got Rochelle and I just got back from a trip to Oklahoma City. We had our team retreat, and so we had it packed filled with information, and reassure everyone, we have such a great staff that's really, really excited about really getting to know our clients and future clients to help guide them. So we do have some events that are coming up that we are really excited about. You can go to our website, honestbuck.com. We will be in Nashville, Tennessee in about a week and a half for the AELL conference. And we'll have a booth there. Please stop by, see us, say hi, if you're lucky to be there. And if not, maybe you can catch us at another event. We'll be in Orlando, Florida in July for the CBG. I'm having a brain fart right now, but we're
Childcare Business Growth
Thank
Live,
you.
which I will say, this is our first time doing anything with childcare business growth. But I did have a client last year who got a free ticket to it. They happened to be in the Florida area, got a free ticket, and they said that it was literally the best conference they had ever been to. And this is not an easy person who told me this, so I took it very seriously when she said that it was all information and very little sales. And so I got really interested really fast. So we'll be hanging out there as well.
So that's coming up in July, the 21st through the 23rd. Yes, I know it is Florida and it is hot, but come sweat it out with us.
But it'll be inside.
Exactly, it'll be inside. And of course, we are very excited about our first workshop that we will be hosting in August in Northwest Arkansas. And yes, to answer your questions, we will be having another one. We've already started scoping out different properties that we're really excited about possibly hosting in the future, where we can give not just this webinar, where it's a very, via the camera, where we will actually be able to have one-on-one time to really sit down with you and break out the KPI. And so that is, stay tuned for that. Our next webinar, just to let you all know, we will be doing our next webinar on July 10th. It's like a month from now, where we will be talking about staying compliant with your team and staff using Mineral HR. That is, if you've attended this or even registered for this, we will absolutely be sending you that follow-up so you can check that out. And if there's things that you would like to see us talk about, or if there are questions that you would like, I really would like to have a better visual like this, please let us know. education@honestbuck.com. We're very excited to try to answer everything. We can only take on so many clients. We are taking on new clients, yes, Jay, so we will be in touch with you. But we also can only take on so many clients, and so we want to find other ways that we can help everybody get the answers that they need. And we're just grateful that you trust us to do that so much. And I know I speak for Rochelle on this. We appreciate the time and the continued loyalty that you give us, because we really just love what we do. Thank you, Donna. Yes, we can give a synopsis of what we do. We are an accounting firm that specializes in daycares and childcare industry. We know that individuals that get into childcare and daycare, they're not necessarily doing it for the money-making opportunities. They have the heart of Mother Teresa and are in it for the education of the young ones, which is what we love. And we also recognize that those individuals may not necessarily be advised properly, because not everybody is specialized or understands all of these little KPI metrics. And so what we do is we work directly with the owners to help them understand their business, help them plot and plan for their future, help them sell their businesses, help them buy businesses, help them retire. If it has to do with daycare, childcare industry, and accounting and bookkeeping, we do that. The thing that sets us apart is definitely the advising, and we have a team of advisors that will give you that one-on-one time every month to really truly help you understand your business. So any other questions for everybody? I know that was just kind of short, sweet, and to the point. Still appreciate everybody. And thank you. We look forward to seeing you next month.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good one.